So we're gonna start with that 2 mana cost, 3/2 stats dragon, uninvited guest. Afterlife, shuffle 2 threats into your opponent's deck. Well, uninvited guest needs no invitation at all because he's an annoyance for sure. At the end of the day, uninvited guest is just a solid card. Stats are decent, 2 mana 3/2, that's okay. But shuffling 2 dreads into your opponent's deck is pretty good. As some of you might or might not know, a dread is a card that gets shuffled into the deck just as a Candling does. But the biggest difference is, or well, there's no difference. It procs the same way, but it doesn't remove a card from your opponents. It makes 2 damage to your opponent and it heals you 2 damage. Or it heals you for 2 basically. So you're basically doing 4 damage and 4 healing into your opponent's deck, which is pretty damn good. It's a 2 mana. There's gonna be a few more synergies on there that would benefit from this. But I'm gonna say it, this is actually really solid. If you're playing a Dread deck, you need a cheap dragon because you might want some other dragon synergies to work with it. Uninvited Guest seems to be really good. I'm not gonna say it's S tier because it just doesn't has the stats or the effect to be S tier. It's still random, you don't get the damage immediately. But I'm gonna give it a solid A. Could be a B tier, but honestly, I think A is a good spot for this card, so that's what I'm gonna give it. Now, I already mentioned what Dread is. It's actually not a card itself, but it's not something you include in your deck. It's a card you get to happen during the game while affecting or proccing other cards, effects. So I'm not gonna talk through or about this. We're gonna move on to the next one, Scale Called Conscript. 3 mana, 4/3 dragon, obliterate a dread from your opponent's deck if you do game blitz. Now, I think this guy is a little bit underwhelming. I think there are a lot of good ways for specifically dead to clear minions. So you don't really have to go this bad. And you know what? Most of the times I'm just happier dealing the 2 damage than getting this guy procced. Now, he's a decent dragon. But I think it's gonna be situational. I don't love him. I think he's gonna be a B tier card, and I don't think I'm gonna change my rating. I think B is pretty solid for him, and that's where I'm gonna stick with. I don't think he's too strong, guys. I'm sorry. Now, 3 mana, Catacomparia, 3 mana, 2/1 stats, Dread Touch, deal 2 damage to each enemy character. So basically, it's a 3 mana minion or creature, 2/1. You have to sacrifice a guy to activate his effect. That's what Dread Touch is. And the effect is to deal 2 damage to every character, which means it also goes face. I think Catacomparia, at least to my eyes, it seems like a decent card. It seems like an okay card. In a way, this works pretty similar to Farlike Cage, because a lot of the times for you to get full value out of Farlike Cage, you would usually play it alongside a minion. And that makes Farlike Cage, somewhat hard to play because if not, you have to pick another target. As I mentioned before, it kind of works similar to Farlike Cage. You have to sacrifice a minion, which means you need a minion to make it happen. Now, Farlike Cage is good, mainly because Farlike Cage usually gets comboed with like Spell Boost. So you get like Street Conjurer Farlike Cage, you get another Spell Boost girl Farlike Cage or something like that. Catacomb still needs you to play a minion, and you will kill the minion. So in a way, it's not as strong as other cards, and the synergy is a little bit hard to make it happen. I don't think it's a bad card, but I don't think it's an A tier card. I'm gonna give it a B tier. Draconic Priestess, 4 mana, 3/5 stats. It's a dragon, roar, and ally. Shuffle a dread into your opponent's deck. All of the minions that have the ally tag, they usually have to be killed immediately. There is no other way around it. You just have to shut them down. No questions asked. It's the way it is. It has always been this way. And I think this girl is going to be no difference. Stats wise, she's pretty decent. You get the dread immediately once you play her, and your opponent must be thinking, God damn it, I have to kill her or I'm going to get more 2 damage into my face. And deal 2 damage to your opponent's face, heal yourself too. It's gonna be pretty good for this deck. I think that's gonna be really, really nice. So I think this card's actually good. I think Draconic Priestess is gonna be good. I am gonna give it an A tier. Pulsating Chrysalis. Cannot attack, burn 2. Afterlife, summon the top other dragon on your board. It's a 4 mana 2/6, but he cannot attack. And he's basically like waiting to die to spawn the minion. Again, I think that has so many more ways of getting dragons from the void into your board. That's usually not the biggest issue. Not only is this guy expensive, he also takes time to get placed. Like he goes to 2/4, and he doesn't have frontline, so it's not like I'm gonna play him and just use him to bait my opponent. You could say this guy is a sacrificial dragon, but every sacrificial thing you might be going on for you on your deck, 4 mana is too expensive. This guy is unplayable. I don't think he's gonna see play, and he's just not good at all. So I'm gonna say pretty bad. I'm gonna say he's really, really bad. We're gonna move on to Dread Mass, 2 mana. Summon a Dread High with frontline. Set its strength and health equal to the number of Dread in your opponent's deck. Now, okay, Dread Mass. Okay, this one is actually not bad because it's not burning the cards. So this is actually good. Mainly because if you're already playing Uninvited Guest, if you're playing Bogins, if you're playing Gapping Pursuers, which actually do really good amount of damage, they all have good stats, so there's no reason not to play it. I think Dread Mass can potentially be a really good card. It's just a 2 mana, spawn a strong minion, and I'm happy about it. And yeah, I think overall, this might be good. So I'm gonna say Dread Mass. I'm gonna give it a... I don't know how strong the archetype is gonna be, but I for sure think this card is gonna see some play. Like, people are definitely gonna try it out. So I'm just gonna say this is a probably pretty solid A tier card. A for Dread Mass. And now Sweet Surrender. Destroy the enemy weakest creature. Dread Touch, heal your god for 4 is a spell. Now, I'm not super interested about the Dread Touch on this one. It's more of a bonus. You're not looking to heal when you play this card, which means you're just playing this card to destroy the weakest enemy creature most of the times. That itself is not a bad effect. It's hard to compete against Blight Bombs, Curse of the Greed, stuff like that. Curse of the Greed sometimes takes time to get played, because you're thinking, oh, I want to get the Heirloom. And you might slow down yourself a little bit, but when you're in worries, when you're in danger, you just drop it. And this guy might not be as consistent when it comes down to that. One big argue to play Sweet Surrender would be if I'm playing an aggro deck and now I'm fighting for the board every single turn, I could see it. Do I see aggro dead as a control aggro mechanic? In a way, yes. In a way, I do not. It's kind of complex because Blackfire Fletchling works kind of similar to Sweet Surrender. And if you get Sweet Surrender, you get Blackfire Fletchling, you might actually get to a decent spot where you're consistently removing the minions you want to remove for 2 mana. And if people are playing big minions, this could be really nice. With cards like Karst on the meta, where people just get insane boards out of nowhere, is this going to maintain its value? I don't know. It's really tough. I think everybody's gonna be able to get into the board quite fast. So I'm gonna say it seems to be okay. I'm gonna give it a B tier to Sweet Dreams. Path of the Dead. It's a 2 mana cost spell. Pull a card from your board to your hand. Your god takes damage equal to its mana cost. Pull a card from your board to your hand. Your god takes damage equal to its mana cost. I think Path of the Dead is actually really nasty. I'm gonna say this card is really nasty. Everybody's thinking Void Hate is gonna be really big on this expansion, and I agree with you. I think Void Hate is gonna be a big thing, but there's not a single clear everything on the Void card yet. Well, there is, but it's not played, and it's not gonna be played. So I think you are consistently getting some value out of Path of the Dead. I think this card is gonna be pretty solid. It's a good way to reroll your resources. You can remove cards from the void, cleanse your void yourself, but most important of all, just get the card you're looking for. You might be able to find second economics, you might be able to find second bitter endings, you might be able to find this for Rock Drakes is actually pretty nuts. Like, now you can go Path of the Dead, Sarus, get the Sarus back, play Sarus for tempo or things like that. This card is just overall strong. This card can be played on every single dead deck because it's just a really good resource. If you pair this one up with the dreads, you don't really care about healing, man. You're healing yourself. You might be able to find that extra piece of damage you were lacking, and you don't really mind it. Any card is strong. It should just be spell. It's literally any card. anything you might be needing, anything you might be looking for. It doesn't even give it soulless. So you can think about this card as a Pyrrhic Knowledge. And you know what I think about Pyrrhic Knowledge. Pyrrhic Knowledge is insane. It's a monster card. Now, Path of the Dead doesn't cast the spell for free, I know, but it doesn't stop it from just being pretty damn good. Path of the Dead might be the first S tier of today. Now we're gonna go for the next spell, Scale Cult Ceremony. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose 2 to pull to your void. But yeah, Scale Cult Ceremony, overall, draw 2, sacrifice a minion, draw 2, and put 2 cards on the void. I don't love it because you're being forced to pick. You won't be able to know what you're really drawing because you're sending 2 cards to your void first. And that's it. And then you draw. You're still doing the first part of the quest or the spell, which means it's just draw 2, burn 2. If you sacrifice a minion for 2 mana, it seems a little bit too complex. I'm pretty sure Casino decks will love this, because for Casino Dead, knowing what you're sending to the graveyard and burning cards, it's amazing. So might be really unique. Void Hate is definitely going to be a thing next meta. So we'll have to keep an eye on this card, but for the time being, I'm going to give it a solid B. Soul Breather. 5 mana, 5/5 dragon. Roar. Trigger the afterlife of a friendly creature twice. Usually cards like these ones are played, mainly because stat lines are pretty decent. The effect works with, Blackfire Fleshlings, Bonflies, Bogin, the Dead Trawler, works with Uninvited Guest. If you are thinking about playing Siren of the Grave, you're thinking about playing Ramp, if you're thinking about playing other cards that benefit from Afterlives, Soul Breather is just doing a pretty good job. I'm gonna give it A tier. I'm not gonna go S because it's definitely not S tier, but it can be really, really good. Now, Bogin, 4 mana, 4/4 dragon, Roar, Dreadtouch, and Afterlife. So he's gonna do the effect. If you sacrifice a minion, he's gonna do it again. When he dies, he's gonna do it again. And whenever he attacks, no matter what, he can attack Phase or another minion. You shuffle 2 Dread into your opponent's deck. So Bogin, the one and only, he's gonna shuffle 2. He's gonna shuffle 4. He's gonna shuffle 6. So basically, you can get 6 Dreads into your opponent's deck, and there's little they can do about it. I mean, they can keep tempo and don't let you have the board, or they can obliterate Bogin before he dies, but it's really hard because he's 4 mana. He is insanely, insanely, insanely strong because just from these 3 main stats, you're getting 6 Dreads on there, which translates to 12 damage and healing 12, which is pretty damn naughty. The art is pretty cool as well. I don't know if we can zoom it. I don't think so. He is pretty damn good, guys. He is pretty damn good. I think Bogin is going to be the second S tier card of the day. No questions asked. He is just that freaking amazing. It's just what it is. Dread does damage to the player who draws it. Yeah, basically Dread does damage to the player who draws it. So he's actually insane. Bogin plus Tarkin, it's a little bit slow because you're only proccing the Afterlife. It's not bad, but I mean, you can go Tarkin plus Uninvited Guest, and it's the same. I think we might see a really funny deck with Dread that just keeps shuffling and cycling cards. Yeah, it's gonna be quite unique. It's gonna be quite unique, not gonna lie to you guys. Actually, let me move my camera a little bit lower for... But yeah, it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really, really good. Bogin is S tier, no questions asked. I wonder if he's actually gonna stay the same. Okay, we're gonna put it here. Ooh, Predator X with the rate of 15. Welcome everybody. Thanks a lot, Preda. Appreciate it, bro. Hope you had a great stream. Now we're gonna go with Sarus Mother Beholden. So, Sarus Mother Beholden, 6 mana, 4/7 dragon. Roar, summon a dragon from your void with mana cost 4 or less. Dreadtouch, summon any dragon from your void instead. Now, we have talked about Sarus Mother Beholden before. It was one of the first League legendaries, and honestly, she doesn't seem that great. At the end of the day, Tarkin didn't get much play. The same with Sivaru. 6 mana seems to be a little bit too late into the match to get value off. You don't really benefit too much from summoning a dragon. It has to be a 4 mana cost one. And if you sacrifice a minion, you get to sacrifice any other minion. But again, for you to get value out of that, you would have to wait so long into the game that you're playing Control Dead, and Control Dead doesn't seem to be in a good spot right now. So I'm gonna be honest with you, when it comes down to art, when it comes down to what she is, she's freaking majestic. I'm not gonna deny that. But when it comes down to utility, Sivaru's Mother Beholding is not a card that I would be playing, and I think it's really underwhelming as a legendary card. So I think it's a little bit sad, but I think this card's gonna see no play unless it gets buffed, which might happen. This card might get buffed, who knows. Monolith Watcher, 6 mana cost, 6/5 dragon. Frontline, Roar, delve a dead dragon. If a friendly creature was destroyed, this turn reduce the delve creature mana cost by 2. I mean, I wouldn't say he is OP. He seems to be playable. It's kind of easy for you to sacrifice a minion on your turn, so you're gonna delve a dragon and discount it by 2 mana. But most of the times, I'm not super excited to delve any dragon unless that dragon is Bogin. There's a small chance he might actually become a really solid part of the meta. Like, you are just delving a freaking dead dragon. There are not that many, so you're gonna be getting good options. But at the end of the day, I mean, there are enough for the pool to be hard and consistency to not be there. And that's a little bit scary. Randomness, it's just a scary part of this game. And usually random cards don't make it too far. But this is a segmented or limited randomness, which makes it a little bit better. 6 mana, 6/5, stats are not bad. But 6 mana, since in Unchained, for getting to 6 mana, you have to wait 2 more turns. 6 mana tends to be a really high impact spot. Dead dragon only, yeah, Arandian 6 mana, yeah, you're not getting Arandian. I think it's a little bit expensive. I just don't know what it is with 6 mana cost with Dead, but they didn't feel like they get too many good ones. 6 mana is not going to be the strong suit for Dead. I'm going to give it a B tier. Monolith Watcher gets a solid B tier, and I think that's pretty nice. Mods to a Flame. 5 mana spell, destroy all creatures with mana cost 3 or less. Deal 3 damage to your god. Now, deal 3 damage to your god doesn't matter. You're healing quite a lot. You're getting dreads on there. It's just a pretty solid 5 mana cost clear. I think it's pretty solid, mainly because most of the aggro archetypes, they usually sit down with getting their value between 1 mana, 2 mana, and 3 mana. And this card is gonna deal with all of them. It's just gonna solve all of their problems. It's just good, man. It just does a good thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. So in a way, maybe War with white free cards cunning challengers could be a little bit problematic, but for most aggro decks, this is enough to kill or to clear a whole board. I think this card's gonna be played. The 3 damage to your face, I don't really care about it too much. I'm gonna have dreads already, so I can heal myself, and that's it. So it's basically a dust to dust, but better. It's 1 more mana, but it's better, and I'll like that. I'll play that. Actually, I'm gonna give it B tier. I'm gonna give it B plus tier, something along the lines. The only reason why it's not A tier is because I believe Control Dead is not gonna be on the meta. So it's gonna have to be dead dragons playing mods to a flame, and I don't love that, or just an aggro deck or a mid-range deck playing this. I think this would suit Control perfectly, but I can't really think of a Control deck that's gonna be super strong right now. We're gonna go to the next one, Carrion Nestor, 2 mana, Afterlife. Add a random dead dragon to your hand. I'm gonna say he's B tier, straight out of it, bro. Come on, what is this? This good? This good? This is awful. Actually, it's not awful, but it's a 2 mana 3/2, get a random dead dragon. Again, I'm not giving a super high rating for Monolith Watcher, and at least with Monolith Watcher, you get to delve that dragon. With Carrion Nestor, it's just completely random, so I feel even less confident about this one. I would rather play Encumbered Looter, and I'm probably gonna get a dead dragon. I'm gonna thin my deck, and I'm gonna make it easier for me to find my other options. I might be missing out on 3 damage, but Looter is hidden. This guy is not. So I'm gonna say it. This guy is not amazing. Randomness, it's just a big hit for any card, and this one is way too random for my taste. Sands of River, 2 mana cost. Trigger the afterlife of a creature in your void, then obliterate that creature. Death Touch, repeat. It's usually not that good to trigger the afterlife of a minion and then burn it, because why would you? Why would you remove the card you want to get their afterlife from? Like, why am I doing this to myself? Maybe as a finisher, if there's like an insanely OP afterlife, it's a C tier. I'm gonna give Sands River the C tier. 2 mana, 0/2 dragon, Brood Parasite. Afterlife, summon a 4/4 Dread Hive. So if you have the question, this is a Dread Hive, so you're getting a frontline minion, which is kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie, Chicken might be better, but I like the fact that this guy is a dragon. I think we're not really pushing too much the dragon archetype synergy, other than for the drawing, or like for the whelp card, or for the glean. Which in that case, do I want to play glean and draw Brood Parasite? I think there's so much better things to draw. Maybe you want to have the ally version of this just to play it alongside Draconic Priestess. And yes, you do get a minion to sacrifice, but like I'm not feeling it that much. I think it's gonna be B tier. I think it's playable. I could definitely see a deck or two running this. I don't think it's gonna be on the main decks. I don't think this is gonna be the most meta card ever. Well, with the chicken, you can sacrifice a 1/1, and then you can sacrifice a 2/2, and you can sacrifice everything, and you don't mind it. With this, you're just gonna get this one, and that's it. And it's a little bit more expensive. If you're thinking about sacrificing something, you probably want to combo them together on that same turn, which means you will have to wait more time to develop the sacrifice with this card. So chicken is better. Probably. Chicken is not a dragon though. Chicken is not a dragon, so have that in mind. If I'm wrong for something, it's because the chicken is not a dragon. So just remember that. Void Watch Brand. After a friendly creature is destroyed, shuffle a dread into your opponent's deck and lose 1 durability. So this is a relic. I didn't even realize it was a relic. I should have, because of the random square thing. So after a friendly creature is destroyed, shuffle a dread into your opponent's deck and lose 1 durability. I mean, it's a 1 mana, maybe shuffle 4 dreads. I'm not super excited about it. Potential, because you could put 8 damage into your opponent's deck, but the main difference between Void Watch Brand and like Bogin and Uninvited Guest and all of these cards is they activate rather easily. They do not get countered by relic removal. You get a minion on board, which means you're getting some value out of the card you're playing, and the dread is kind of like a bonus effect on top of everything. Maybe for Bogin it's a little bit more than that, but because he's giving you so many dreads, that it just makes sense. But for this card, I think this is a little bit too slow. I think this is not fast enough. And I could see myself being completely wrong about this card as well. I think these 2 cards have potential to be played on decks. But I'm just going to give it a B tier again. It doesn't seem super interesting. I think I could get something better for 1 mana. Or maybe I'd just rather not waste my time with 1 mana and get Untold Greeds or something else. 5 mana, Dread Rising, give each enemy creature -X/-X, where X is the amount of dread in your opponent's deck. Now, Dread Rising, this is different. I could definitely see myself playing a Dread Rising. S tier. Dread Rising is S tier. It's S tier, guys. It's S tier. This is S tier. This is easy. Okay, but you know what? This makes Control Dead playable. This alone makes Control Dead playable, because you can build a Control Dead deck out of Dread Rising and just play Bogin and play like Uninvited Guest and play like all of these random get dread cards without being super aggressive. You're killing your opponent. You're winning one way or another. Man, Dread deck has to be a control deck. I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to see Dread deck as I'm gonna play Dread on my Dragon Dead list and I'm gonna keep it up that way. Not anymore. I think this might be really strong. And the thing is, if Dread Rising exists, actually mods to a flame becomes a little bit better because it's control. So like, okay, but the thing is, if you have to pick between one of these two, I would rather go Dread Rising. I think Dread Rising is insane. I actually think this card is insane. Because if you get, hear me out, if you have at least at least 3 dreads in your deck, in your opponent's deck, this card is better than most things. Than most clears we have on Gods Unchained for 5 mana. All you need is 3 to make it better. That's all you need. Take for example Elixir of the Snake. Elixir of the Snake is +3/-3. So you have the backside of you might be buffing your opening creatures. But it had the upside that it went through Ward, which was really damn nice. So this is basically the same. But you don't have the backside of buffing your minion. Elixir, I believe, might be 6 mana, so it's 1 more mana. Like, all you need is to have at least, I'm telling you, at least 2, actually not 3, 2 dreads, and this card is worth it for 5 mana. So, and this is only enemy creatures. It doesn't even affect your own minions. This is S tier, easily S. Oh my, this card is so broken. I cannot believe they gave the most strongest board clear to the one class that already has Apocalypse Now, Bifurcating Curse. Wait, what? 6 mana, pick 1. Oh, well, off 2 mines, 6 mana, pick 1. Deal 3 damage to each enemy character, summon the strongest creature from your void and give it Blitz. Dread Touch, do both. Doesn't even feed the card. But I think this has potential. This card kind of reminds me of an Unbound Flames. It's a weaker version of Unbound Flames, but it kind of does the same in my head. You get to play an AoE clear. It's not 4 damage, but it's 3. And then you get to play 1 more minion that's going to get extra damage, which is pretty solid, right? I actually like it a lot. And summon the strongest creature from your void. It could be so many things. You might actually end up playing this on late game and getting same value. And this card is just a little bit more versatile. And now that I know Control, it's a real archetype, I'm feeling kind of good about this. I'm kind of feeling this might be good. I'm gonna give it a B tier. Now for last, we have the 3 mana, 3/4 Gaping Pursuer. At the end of your turn, shuffle a dread into your opponent's deck. He's a dragon. Gaping Pursuer is a freaking legend. Why is he a freaking legend? First of all, decent stats. Second of all, pretty he's a dragon. Dragon Thrive is useful. It's gonna be useful. He's gonna be playable. He's nice. And third, he has an infinite cycle effect, or he just goes on forever, and forever is whenever he's on the board. And this is a type of card you have to immediately get rid of. And getting rid of this card might mean having to use an End of War on a 3/4, or having to use a Ray of Disintegration or something along the lines. Your opponent won't always have the perfect answer. And if this guy stays on the board, your opponent gets super punished. And honestly, he's just decently well statted. 3 mana, 3/4 is amazing. And he also has a nice Thrive, which is pretty good. Oh, the rating, he is S tier. I think he's S tier. I actually think so. He seems to be incredibly broken, and I'm gonna say it. He's really damn good, okay? And I think that's gonna be the rating for all of the cards, all the death cards. Well, that was easy.